So there's a school shooting that happened today. A school shooting. This is September 10th, 2025. So a school shooting had happened at Evergreen High School. 3 students are in critical condition. 3 students are in critical condition. Now this is the same day that Charlie Kirk had got shot, and the shooting is horrific. It is horrific. Edmund Burke had actually said that the worst fear of man is having a violent death. And Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck. It looked like it shot him in the artery. Blood was just spewing out all over the place. He falls backwards, immediately limp. If he wasn't shot and killed right then and there, it's hard to think that he wouldn't have bled out pretty quickly. I don't know how quickly they put him in the stretcher, how quickly they got him in the hospital. And really, you're shot in the neck, so you shouldn't move them too much. You should just put pressure on the neck. Having a doctor, having some sort of suture, he would need to get into surgery immediately, right? You'd have to stop the bleeding, stop the 2 arteries, or you'd have to sew it up, right? You have to sew it up as quick as possible. So I want to just compare and contrast, because there's like 50 shootings that happen every day in America, in addition to, all the conflicts. So Israel just did a assassination on Yemen. They just killed their prime minister. And then Israel just bombed Qatar. Charlie Kirk did have that one. He said a lot of stuff. He said empathy. Who gives a shit about empathy? Empathy is just one of those woke words. Who gives a shit about empathy? And why should you put yourself in the position of another person? Who gives a damn about empathy? He also said that, the Second Amendment, if you're going to have an armed public, if everybody is going to be armed in public, you're going to have some gun deaths. And he says that it's worth it. He did the calculus, and he would rather have the right to own guns, even though some people might get shot. So I believe in the Bill of Rights. I just want to, not lose perspective of this whole thing. So it's horrific what had happened to Charlie Kirk. It's horrific what happened at this school shooting here. At the very least, can you motherfuckers start to be fucking nicer? Can you be fucking more decent? Can you all, start treating people like you want to be treated? You all got to be such fucking pricks, such fucking goddamn assholes. At least 2 students were shot in the active shooter situation at Evergreen High School. Our judicial branch is messed up. We're an overextended empire, and we're meddling in so many different, countries. There's homeless people that's on the streets. There's poor people. There's a lot of people. Some people are saying that you should lock more people up, lock less people up. I think you should lock the people that are guilty up, and the people that are good and nonviolent, you should make sure that we're free. We have the First Amendment for a reason, but you got this administration that just says you can't burn the American flag. That's coming right after the freedom of speech. That's a Scalia decision. So the conservative Supreme Court, they should go ahead and knock that shit down immediately. Immediately. You're allowed to burn the American flag because we're a free country, and you're allowed to have free speech, and people are allowed to say things without you, throwing people in jail for it, without you hurting people, without you coming after, people. At least 2 students shot in active shooter situation at Evergreen High School. This is 28 miles southwest of Denver. It's got about 900 students. They're not really saying too much. A 3rd teenager is being treated also there. Let's see here. They're being treated at the Common Spirit St. Anthony Hospital in Lakewood. The hospital's CEO, Kevin Cullinan, said all 3 patients were teenagers. They haven't released many details. I'm closely monitoring the situation. Okay, Jared Polis saw videotape of people with AK-47s. The Tren de Aragua, terrorizing local people. Didn't say shit, didn't do shit. I think we got to strike that balance. Throughout history, conservative versus liberal is just a conversation that's been had since the beginning of time. Sometimes you keep the things that are working good, you change the things that aren't working, right? So change is liberal, keep the status quo the same as conservative. Sometimes you think with your brain, sometimes you think with your heart. But I'd like to think that we could have a balance. Sometimes you care about the individual, sometimes you care about the community. But let's care about the community and the individual. Let's think with our hearts and let's think with our mind. Let's change the things that need to be changed, and let's keep the things that are working. So let's carry on. I'm closely monitoring the situation. Jared Polis. There's some buses. Okay, so that's one article down. Let's read, 2 more articles? Which one won't take up a bunch of bandwidth? Let's see here. Axios and then the Colorado Sun. So you've had these 3 kids are in critical condition. So we're against all gun violence, right? You're not just allowing these kids to be sacrificial, just offered to the sacrificial lamb on the altar of, the Second Amendment. Is that what you're doing? You're just allowing these kids to be sacrificial lambs on the altar of the Second Amendment? I'm pro Second Amendment. I'm pro Bill of Rights. I think that we should have the Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, Seventh Amendment. The Bill of Rights is America. So when you come after the First Amendment with that, gun burning or that flag burning thing, that guy got arrested. That veteran burnt American flag, said he wasn't doing it for any reasons. It wasn't provoking anybody to do a riot or whatever. He's right. That's the extent of speech. People are allowed to express beliefs you don't agree with. We think they're all students. We don't know the condition of any of them. Let's see here. Let's carry on. 3 teenagers in critical condition. An active assailant. I presume they probably stopped the person shooting now because 2 or 3. This happened 1:45, so this happened a couple hours ago. Spokesperson with St. Anthony Hospital said 3 teenagers were transported from the school, all in critical condition. The county's dispatch center. Let's see. ATF, FBI is there. Jared Polis is monitoring. He's actively monitoring the situation. After the fact, how come Jared Polis, isn't monitoring all the violence that happens throughout the... Jared Polis doesn't know right from wrong. Jared Polis saw videotapes of crimes happening, and he didn't give a damn. Students should be able to attend school safety without fear across our state and nation. We're all praying. Okay, take your thoughts and prayers and shove them up your ass. I want actual, real policy prescriptions. I want real policy prescriptions. That was horrific. He got shot in the neck, and blood is just spewing out all over the place. It looks like, and it was only one single shot. One single shot. And, my guess, it was political. My guess it was, liberal, conservative, Democrat, somebody. And you got to remember that, Melissa Hortman, you just saw those Democratic lawmakers who got shot and killed in Minnesota. So to think that this, polarization, we can't continue to do what we're doing. A lot of these shootings, I've, prescribed things. Oh, well, we're just going to put more money into mental health. We're just going to go after guns. Is there no other solution between these 2 extremes? We could be kinder to one another, You want to pass more laws, red flag laws, and all these other laws. Okay, yeah, that's all going to solve a whole bunch of things. Getting the guns out of people's hands would, lessen the amount of dead, bodies. But people could go around with a knife, People can find weapons. The police have a weapon, so they could take the gun from the police. So there's a small point, but you got to, the Second Amendment. If the progressives or liberals or Democrats actually spoke about the Bill of Rights like they give a shit. I mean, both Kamala and Tim Walz were talking about going after social media, so they were for censorship as well. Nobody gives a fuck about the First Amendment. Nobody gives a fuck about the First Amendment. The whole question about the Second Amendment is whether or not you can have a gun if you're part of a militia or if you're just, in the home, an individual right to a gun. And then the Fifth Amendment says you have a right to a grand jury if anybody's going to accuse you of felony. Eighth Amendment says no cruel and unusual punishments. I mean, the Bill of Rights, if we don't believe in the Bill of Rights, do we believe in anything? If we don't believe in our Constitution and the Bill of Rights, there's all this talk about common law. They're talking about old ancient English common law. They're talking about old ancient English common law. There's a lot of people that haven't even read the damn Constitution. I would like to think that, the Bill of Rights is absolute sacrosanct. It's sacred. It's venerated. The Bill of Rights that's more important than the 10 Commandments. The Constitution, that's the beginning of a whole new era. The Sixth Amendment says you have a right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against you, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in your favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for your defense. This is fantastic. These are great things. So we have a police force that's going to go after the bad guys who's doing violent crimes against other people, and then we're also going to make sure that our freedoms are being upheld, which would, either A, find the person or throw them in jail. Somebody tries to infringe on somebody else's freedom, they should be thrown in jail. We need constitutional cops with equal vigor. We should go after violent criminals and protect people's freedoms. All people's rights, all people's freedoms. Somebody tries to duct tape somebody's mouth or whatever just because they don't want to hear them speak. Well, that goes against your First Amendment. That goes against the First Amendment. So this is paywalled. We can't get through this one here. 3 people shot at Evergreen. It's a hell of a way to go. It's a hell of a way to go. And I wonder how these kids got shot. They're in critical condition as well. We don't know the story. We don't know the names of these people. They're not infamous. They're not famous. It's only when, the rich and powerful, that's the only time anybody gives a damn is when the rich and 50 people get shot every day in America. But it's mostly poor people. Somebody got shot in the alley. There was a dead body they found in Costilla County. Right there in the Luvetti. Right there where I said a shit ton of crimes were happening. And the judicial system is set up in a way that it's more likely that the excuse me. It's more likely that the cops and prosecutors with that dead body found in Costilla County, there's 2 found by the church. There was found one was found in the Wild Horse Mesa. The citizen emailed the prosecutor. He didn't call the police. He emailed the prosecutor. So this is just, fascinating. What is more likely will happen, based upon my experience, is that the person that found the dead body will be arrested. The good guy who called 911 and said, hey, this crime happened. They won't tell us the name of the person who was killed. They won't canvass a 30-mile radius talking to every single household to see if anybody saw anything. They're not taking the lives of people serious. So either A, it'll get buried in the media, the 24/7-hour news cycle, or B, or both, they won't do anything. They won't find the guy. They won't arrest the guy. They won't arrest anybody. Nobody will get in trouble for it. You're trying to tell me that nobody knows anything? Is that what you're trying to say? The place where you have a bunch of gangbangers and Nazis, the right-wing sovereigns all over the place? The place where the right-wing sovereigns, Sam Jepsen took shots at me. Robert Pickerel he was with a drive-by shooting. Phil Greene committed crime after crime after crime. There's a lot of connection to that biodiesel plant in Mesita. Until people can actually start to give a damn about other people's lives, the whole promise of America is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, I'm praying for the people that got shot here. Charlie Kirk, I don't like his politics. He's made his living doing his thing. He's got some, very ridiculous opinions. He's against empathy, so to hell with empathy. He says that he's willing to sacrifice some people for the Second Amendment. And he's okay with genocide in Palestine. So when I think about the images of Palestine, my God, just someone gets shot in the head, neck and blood spewing all over the place. I saw a kid just walking in the alley. He got shot at his legs. He dropped his bag of flour, kept going. There was that little kid, Amir. Amir had walked like miles to get a little piece of flour or whatever, kissed the guy's hand, and as he's walking away, he got shot and killed. So a little 5-year-old kid. There was Miss Rachel had that 3-year-old girl that was, lost her leg. I'm trying to think of the violent images of Palestine. Because what I'm afraid of is that these are just bodies on the screen. Black bodies get shot on the screen. People can ignore that shit, pretend that it's not going to affect them. Eric Garner gets choked to death right on the street. You had Breonna Taylor that just got shot when she was, sleeping 2 a.m. Somebody's like, going to ram down their door. They were scared. They fired one shot off in self-defense. They got shot and murdered. People could justify every sick fucking thing that they see on the damn TV because clearly the authorities, the so-called authorities, they know what's going on. But the authorities is author, and you got to have, where's your authority coming from? Do you have a law? Do you have a law that you could point to? They did point out there was somebody that's saying, well, it's against international law to bomb that Venezuela boat. And they said, well, what law are you talking about? Tell me which law you're talking about. You got to point to a law. You have to point to a law. I'm sure that Senator Padilla got pushed down. I guarantee you that cop doesn't know what his authority was to do something like that. He didn't think about what his authority was. He's got a badge, he's got a gun, he just goes around, being as violent as fuck as possible, and the damn system protects it. So, when somebody gets arrested and then the damn court system just rubber stamps the shit, it's like the lawyers. If you pay $1 million for a damn lawyer, maybe you'll get some, a decent defense. You'll be able to pitch a defense. But I want to think more about the violent images. I don't want people to get desensitized. You're just watching all these dead bodies, people's heads being ripped off, people just ripped limb from limb, their arms are hanging from the rafters, their heads just in the rubble, dead, they're just lying there. Even fetuses, you want to talk about abortion, you even got Palestinian fetuses that are being laid on the table. The Palestinians are just absolute, what are they supposed to do? You're bombing their hospitals, you're bombing their schools, you're bombing the tents that they're staying in. You're going to take over their fucking land and country and put up a Riviera? You're going to put up a big old casino? Is that what you're going to fucking do? Where are they going to fucking live? You're going to just push them into Egypt and Jordan because they want, other people in their country? The Palestinians live in Palestine. They want to stay in their own damn country. So I've seen a lot of kids get blown up. I've seen people with gunshots in their heads, bodies maimed, ripped up, blood all over the place. Fetuses, old, young, men, women. I remember this one scene where the father and the son are just kind of hiding in a corner, and then, that's the before picture, the after picture, they're both dead. Both shot to death. Were they shot in the head, shot in the neck? How did they go down? So when I think about the sick, there was that guy that was on fire. He was just burning on fire, just burning in flames. There was that woman that was on flames in the subway. 3 cops walked right past the damn subway when the woman was on fire. She was still moving. There was still life there. It was an 18 or 19-year-old guy in a hospital bed who got burnt up. There was that girl that walked up. I don't know if she lived or not, but we saw the silhouette. There was fire in the house, and then she walks right by the flames that's in the background. And there's just so much fucking violence, it's almost, I guess, I give a damn, but I'm becoming desensitized. So if people who give a shit become desensitized, what about the people that don't give a shit? How desensitized are you to you all with all this shit? I mean, for Charlie Kirk to say no empathy, and then, a lot of people are saying, okay, everybody have empathy. He was against empathy. He was against empathy. He says he was willing to, roll the dice when it comes to the Second Amendment. And he was against Palestine. He thought that 400,000 people being murdered in Palestine was A-OK. So I don't know exactly what I'm saying here. I guess I'm just trying to work through these thoughts because let's just type in shooting Mississippi. Let's see what's going on in Mississippi, huh? I just got a feeling, let's see, JPD response to shots fired. Murder is getting charged with murder a year after the deadly shooting. One is wounded in Union County shooting. Baltimore comedian Reggie Carroll's killed in Mississippi. Who is Reggie Carroll? He got killed that was, 2 weeks ago? He was 52 years old. What happened there? A comedian? Guy who tells jokes? One dead in a shooting at the Mississippi shipyard that builds Navy vessels. $250,000 bond set in Jones County murder investigation. 52-year-old woman killed in domestic shooting at Hueytown home. Husband captured in Mississippi. Teen arrested for fatal shooting at Lexington Lounge. 4th man arrested a year after a deadly shooting in Tunica County. Ingalls worker killed, another facing murder charge after shooting at Mississippi shipyard. Suspect in Ingalls shipyard, one dead after shooting at Ingalls shipbuilding. So, murders are happening all the time, all over the place. And then, how come that didn't make, national attention? Who is, Reginald Carroll? Who is Reggie Carroll? And then some shooting that happened at a shipyard? That sucks. So that happened at a Navy facility? Is that what you're saying here? Mobile man arrested after Mississippi shipyard shooting. Man killed in Jones County shooting. A woman is arrested. So women are killing, men are killing. Just murder, murder, murder all over the goddamn place. You think being kinder, you think that's a tough, How about don't insult people? How about don't make fun of fucking people? How about don't humiliate them? Don't treat them bad. You don't know what people are going through. Treat others like you'd want to treat yourself. When I read, the Bible, I'm not a Christian. I'm kind of a Christian. I'm kind of an atheist Christian. Yeah, I'm an atheist Christian, I guess. But I don't believe that there's an invisible man in the clouds. I don't believe in any afterlife or heaven. When you die, your energy goes somewhere, but your consciousness, you die. You die. That's it. That's the end of you. And also Jesus. I don't even know if the historical Jesus actually walked on the earth, but he said a lot of, awesome things. He says he's the Son of Man. He's the Son of God. He talks about Martha versus, Martha and Mary, how you should listen. Doing the chores wasn't as important as listening to the teacher. She picked the right thing. I guess Mary picked the right thing. Martha did the wrong thing. Jesus, can you tell Mary to help me with the chores? No, actually, you need to listen to. And when I hear about, just kind of the whole thing, a big thing I take away from what Jesus says is that we are all gods. We are all gods. Since God takes care of the trees and the birds, how much more does he love man? And so since we can be quite awful, it's really important for us to, care about each other, show mercy, have faith, care about justice. The preamble talks about virtue. I think being virtuous. Let's be committed to virtue. There's another thing Americans can do. Not just be nicer, quit being shittier to each other. Quit being so shitty to each other. What about virtue? The preamble talks about 6 virtues. Perfect union, domestic tranquility, justice, freedom, peace, general welfare, defense. These are all honorable end goals. How do you achieve an end goal? You got to have action steps in order to get to the end goals. So you got to wake up and say, okay, I'm going to perfect the union. Well, what does that mean? Well, here's 5 things I'm going to do in order to perfect the union. That's a super American. So I guess those would be my 2 policy prescriptions. Get back to the preamble, get back to the Constitution, get back to having principles. You want to curtail our speech and then turn around and say, hey, just because you disagree with him, that guy that burnt the American flag, you disagree with him, but he was just expressing his speech. Scalia defended that. So that means technically you would think that the conservative Supreme Court would go along with Scalia. That's an attack straight on the Supreme Court. They're almost like thumbing their nose at the Supreme Court. Jackson police chief on the club shooting that left 1 man dead, 2 women injured. He says he's fed up. Mississippi man arrested and connected to shooting, firearms, and narcotics seized at home. Teen serving life for killing mom and wounding stepdad files appeal. It's a lot of people dying, man.